się troi, aby nas zniszczyć, aby zniszczyć Kościół, aby zniszczyć naród polski. Nie możemy na to pozwolić. Jesteśmy Kościołem walczącym. Jesteśmy wojownikami Wielkiej Polski. Oni nawet tego nie wiedzą. Im więcej atakują, tym bardziej nasza narodowa duma wzrasta. Duma! Duma! Narodowa duma! My jesteśmy świadomi swoich korzeni, jesteśmy świadomi swego dziedzictwa narodowo-chrześcijańskiego i my jesteśmy gotowi walczyć o to dziedzictwo do ostatniej kropli krwi. Bóg, honor i ojczyzna! Musimy iść w myśl słów świętego Pawła Apostoła, który mówi: moim honorem jest iść do tych, którzy Chrystusa jeszcze nie znają. Musimy iść poza świątynię, poza zakrystię, poza plebanię. Musimy iść i głosić prawdę oraz Chrystusa. Musimy iść, moi drodzy, i bądźcie gotowi. Bądźcie gotowi na to, że będziecie opluwani. Bądźcie gotowi na to, że będziecie prześladowani. Ale nasza siła, nasza moc, nasza odwaga jest w jedynym Panu i Zbawicielu, Jezusie Chrystusie. To my! To my! Moi drodzy, jesteście wielką armią Kościoła, jesteście wielką armią Polski. Nie wiem, czy zauważyliście, ale historia po raz kolejny zatacza koło. W 1944 wmawiano nam, że Sowieci to są wyczekiwani goście, a w 2015 wmawia się nam i chce nam się wcisnąć islamski fundamentalizm. Nie pozwolimy na to nigdy! Moi drodzy, my nie boimy się pokojowo nastawionych muzułmanów, ale ich przecież jest mniejszość. My się boimy fundamentalizmu. My nie chcemy w Polsce przemocy, nie chcemy agresji w imię Allaha, nie chcemy gwałtów, nie chcemy samosądów i nie chcemy terroru. My musimy się temu przeciwstawić. Nie chcemy nienawiści, która jest w Koranie, a która jest w Surze 5, ale chcemy miłość i prawdę Ewangelii. Ewangelia, a nie Koran! Moi drodzy, lewacka i islamska agresja wymierzona w to, co chrześcijańskie, w to, co narodowe, mamy prawo do lęku i nikt nas z tego nie może pozbawić, ale boimy się, że ten strach, że ten lęk, że ta obawa...
Fngc, który zasłynął żądaniem wprowadzenia szariatu w Wielkiej Brytanii, powiedział: jednego dnia prawo szariatu zostanie wprowadzone także w Polsce, bo wierzymy, że należy usunąć wszystkie opresyjne reżimy. Jeśli rządzi wami ktoś inny niż Allah, to jest to forma ucisku. Dzięki naszej polityce i ten wasz reżim zostanie usunięty, a ludzie będą szczęśliwi, tym że bez głowy. Islamskiej imamie, tutaj nie będziecie wprowadzać żadnych swoich praw. Tutaj jest Polska. Tutaj jest nasza ziemia, nasz kraj, nasze prawa i zasady. Tutaj królem jest Jezus Chrystus. Nie interesują nas żadne dyrektywy i kwoty imigrantów, które gdzieś tam sobie przydzielacie. Powtarzam, to nie nasze wojny, nie nasza kultura, nie nasza wiara i nie nasi imigranci.
Ojczyzna!
To the Muslim population in America, make no mistake, America is a Christian nation, now more than ever. And in America, Jesus Christ is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. If you do not respect that, you are not worthy of America. To the globalist political establishment that includes the left and Republicans posing as conservatives, you no longer have control of the United States of America. Your mechanisms of deception and manipulation, including the mainstream media, Hollywood, the United Nations, NASA, and Planned Parenthood, have been exposed. Your Luciferian reign is over.
Now, what you just saw there was a march through Warsaw, Poland, composed of 150,000 Poles. What they were marching against was the Islamification of Europe in specific, in addition to EU-mandated quotas for migration into Poland. Basically, these guys are not going to have it. What makes this march extra spicy is that this march comes on the heels of EU-threatened sanctions on Poland. But to really get into that, we have to start at the beginning of the story. And that beginning comes in 2015, with Prime Minister Kopax capitulating to the European Union and agreeing to allow some 7,000 asylum seekers for resettlement into Poland. Well, when the Poles got wind of that, they simply weren't going to have it, and not a month later, voted in a brand new Prime Minister. And here's her attitude on these ridiculous quotas. Now, this is a direct quote. You don't get more awesome than this. I say very clearly that I see no possibility at this time of immigrants coming to Poland. There you have it. The total 180. Why? Because of populism. Thank you, Poland, the rock of Europe. Now, this puts the ball back in the European Union's court. What are they to do with this upstart Poland? They don't have a whole bunch of money. They're here on our terms. They need to do what we say. So what do? Well, take a look at this. Well, at first they just simply say, play ball or sit on the sidelines. To that I say, what sidelines? The sidelines where Poland never gets attacked by terrorism? Where Poland has no Islamic extremist problem? Here, take a look at this chart. It's pretty amazing. Maybe you're an American and you're not real good at geography, but I'm gonna guide you in on this. Take a look at all these red dots. Now kind of look in the center of your screen, and it's right in the center really, and there's no red dots. What is that place called? It's Poland. Poland has had no terror attacks since 9/11. Why is that? Could it be because they refuse to let their populace be indoctrinated and overcome with Islamic radicals? I don't know, but just in case you were wondering, Japan also has no terror attacks and also refuses 99% of all asylum seekers. So if the shoe fits, wear it. This might be one of the most underreported statistics ever. But that's not where the story stops. Take a look at this gem. By this point...
Boy, did we learn today how the political class protects its own when it comes to telling us sweet untruths about Islam, refugees and terrorism. Last week, the head of ASIO, Duncan Lewis, told the Senate committee on oath something so obviously false that I thought our political leaders would say, that has crossed the line.
Do you believe that the threat is being brought in possibly from Middle Eastern refugees that are coming out to Australia?
I have absolutely no evidence to suggest there's a connection between refugees and terrorism.
Unbelievable. And as I told you before, here is the ASIO boss claiming there's no link between refugees and terrorism just days after the New South Wales coroner made findings on the deadly Lindt cafe siege by an Iranian refugee. And, of course, just after the son of Libyan refugees killed 22 people in a suicide bombing in Manchester. Then there's the other terrorism here by Muslim refugees, like Fahad Jabbar, who killed a police accountant, Numan Haider, who stabbed 2 police, Muhammad Ali Barialai, the top Islamic State recruiter here, and Saneh Edal Awais, who plotted to attack the Holsworthy Army base. In fact, ASIO said more than 30 people on its terrorist watch list tried to come to Australia as refugees. So, you would think an ASIO boss saying something so untrue about a clear danger would alarm our politicians, but no. Today, Attorney General George Brandis defended Lewis by claiming it actually said something else again.
I think it's important to understand what the Director General was saying, that the source of the problem is not the fact that Australia takes a large number of refugees, including from the Middle East, under various humanitarian programs. It is the fact that there are certain individuals, particularly within the Muslim community, and particularly young men, who are susceptible to being radicalised.
Wait, let's go back. Brandis said our refugee program isn't a source of the terrorism problem? Really? So where did those terrorist refugees I listed just then come from? A cornflakes packet? Labor leader Bill Shorten also covered up for Lewis.
It seems to me that Duncan Lewis is making the point that there are criminal terrorists. They don't represent a whole population of people and they don't represent a whole religion. They're just criminal and evil.
Fine, but that's also not what Lewis said either. Let me remind you.
I have absolutely no evidence to suggest there's a connection between refugees and terrorism.
And that is false. Why won't our political leaders say so? Well, I think the ASIO boss does realise he did mislead the Senate because he gave a rare interview today to the ABC, Safe Territory, and he did admit there was a kind of link between refugees and terrorism after all.
There are, without question, Fran, and I don't resile from this, there are members of the either former refugees or the sons and daughters of refugees who are in the group that have resorted to radicalisation.
OK, but then Lewis added this.
It is not because they are refugees that they become terrorists. It is because of the adoption of this Sunni extremist view.
Again, that's probably true, but it is also what's called making a distinction without a difference. Bringing in Muslim refugees brings in more people prone to fall for that jihadist strain of Islam, and that does put more Australians in danger, and that is exactly the risk that Lewis last week seemed to deny. Now, I should thank Lewis for at least now changing his tune on something he said 2 years ago, that he didn't buy the notion that the issue of Islamic extremism was in some way fostered or sponsored by the Muslim religion. Well, that was also false. Today, Lewis admitted terrorism is fostered by at least a radical Sunni version of Islam. Except Shiite Islam also has terrorist groups, like the one run by Lebanon's Hezbollah, and Hezbollah is supported here by prominent Muslims, including 2 former Grand Muftis. Here's one of them, Sheikh Al-Aili, complaining that Prime Minister John Howard called Hezbollah a terrorist organisation.
يعتبر حزب الله هو منظمة إرهابية أنا أخالف هذا الرأي وأعتبره منظمة وطنية.
Now, I get that the head of ASIO doesn't want to demonise the many Muslims here who don't support terrorism and who do help our agencies to catch extremists. Fine. But ASIO must give all Australians confidence that they are being told the truth. It must also not spread false information that encourages people to think there's no real problem here that needs fixing. And Lewis still hasn't acknowledged a plain fact. Bringing in Muslim refugees does indeed expose us to more danger.